Let's bring Denise and David back in, and thank you for listening in patiently with us there. And I just want to quickly get your take, David, starting with you on what we heard from the president there.
Well, it's optimistic for a peace deal, which I'm glad to hear, and I hope that this comes through. I mean, we're all hoping for that. On the National Guard, this is disturbing to me. The fact that the president thinks that we are going to solve the crime problem by having National Guard monitor our streets. The reality is this same White House is the one that cut over $500 million in grants that went to community violence intervention programs. Just this April, the DOJ terminated over 370 grants that went to communities to prevent crime in the first place. So this is just a temporary thing that is not going to solve any long-term problems in our communities. What we
But David, could I just jump in there and ask you?
Please.
So what President Trump said there is that he has people in these cities, he referenced women in Chicago, he said, who want the National Guard there because they believe that it is going to clean up their cities. He referred to graffiti, for example, and tents here in D.C., and make their cities safer. What do you think of that?
Well, that's great. Yeah, I would love to see graffiti removed. The point is, this has to be in collaboration with our local law enforcement. The way that's going to solve long-term problems is through that. By just having a bludgeoned force in terms of patrolling the streets, yes, that might solve some problems for a day or two, but it really exacerbates other problems. Talking about protecting our ICE agents, that's one thing. But then if you're talking about this is actually going to reduce crime and allow people to walk the streets, that is conflicting information because we know the data shows that crime is down. Yes, there's more cameras and they're picking up all types of events that can be disturbing as we watch them. But if we look at the real statistics and we talk about the real root of this degradation of quality of life, that's going to be done through these programs that have worked in the past. Some of these same grants that were eliminated by the president were working and are the reason why a lot of the crime stats are down. But this is not just going to be window dressing. And that's what I think the president is talking about. He's talking about some observers that don't have any real insight into the data. Just a casual observer could say, oh, thank you for sending troops to an area where I don't even live. That is the problem. It's an abuse of power, and it's a headline. It's a solution in search of a problem, and that's where we need to get down to the brass tacks. I know it's not easy for this president, but roll up his sleeves and take some humility and reach across the aisle and talk to some Democratic mayors and governors and see how you can work together to solve these problems long term and not just a headline for a couple of days.
And Denise, can I ask you that? I mean, that's not a bad point, is it? Because if you're right and these National Guard troops are really bringing down the crime levels so dramatically, then they should stay there. They shouldn't just be there temporarily. They should be there permanently.
Yeah, I mean, I am right because those are the facts. I mean, you can argue about theory, but you can't change facts.
Well, and those facts are disputed by lots of criminologists who've looked at the different crime levels in the different cities, so they're not undisputed facts.
Based on Washington, D.C., where I live, and I can tell you the D.C. police chief was very grateful to have the president's support and the National Guard support, and you can look at the crime facts for yourself. I don't have to argue these facts. You guys
well,
can
violent crime, the mayor said that violent crime was falling before the troops were sent in.
No doubt. But did anyone feel safe going out there? It wasn't falling fast enough. It has fallen precipitously. Moreover, Muriel Bowser, the mayor of D.C., has not only stopped her resistance. At first she welcomed it, then she resisted because she got some political pushback. But now she's acquiesced and said, this is a thing. Let's do this because people are happier and safer. And so I don't know why anyone, this is an 80-20 issue. Democrats are on the wrong side of this issue. Americans want to be safe, and they want to be safe when local police can't do their job. They want someone else who can. That's what was proven in Washington. I can't speak to other cities. I don't live there. I can tell you as a woman who wants to walk at night in the streets, I did not feel safe in Washington, D.C. And you can argue with me all day long about falling crime statistics, but I can only tell you how I feel. And for Democrats to say otherwise is trying to gaslight my experience.
No, we don't want to live in a militarized state. I don't want to live in a military zone where the National Guard are patrolling our streets.
I would rather be in a
problem. These are not military police. They're there to support our law enforcement, and that's the problem. Unless we're working together and we can solve these problems, the mayors, the governors, the local electeds know better than anyone the real problems in these communities. And that's why I say the president is treating this as a political soundbite and not as a real issue. If it were, they would double the amount of grants that are going to these communities or make them more effective, eliminate the ones that they see no return on. But many of these same 370 grants that were limited by the Department of Justice this April were working. They're effective. I've worked personally on crisis intervention teams that can solve a lot of these problems. You know, our law enforcement, the number one event for homicide is reporting to a domestic violent call. If we can get crisis intervention teams out there, we can help our law enforcement and we can help our communities and really solve these crime issues. This National Guard is nothing but window dressing and sound bites and press releases. We need to roll up our sleeves and get to the real issue. And it might not be sexy, but these are the things that will actually produce results.
Okay, David and Denise, thank you very much indeed. We are going to take a quick break now, and we'll be back in a minute. Around the world and across the UK, you're watching BBC News.